How much better would your life be if we could add $10,000 a month in recurring revenue to your agency? Well, this model here shows exactly how to add $10,000 a month recurring revenue to any agency, no matter your experience or what your current revenue is. Now, this method was shown to me when I just couldn't get my head around how to increase our income. But in order to figure out exactly how we can add $10,000 a month to your recurring revenue, we need to take a look at a bookshelf and a seesaw. So if you draw out a bookshelf like this, it's going to have one shelf and two kind of supports, and we're also going to draw a seesaw a bit like this. Some of you guys might call them teeter-totters. Now, when I talk about adding like $10,000 a month, if you're at $0 a month recurring revenue and all of your revenue is project-based, you might be thinking, well, what am I going to deliver to people month in, month out to get that? If you're currently at $10,000 a month in recurring revenue or $100,000 a month in recurring revenue, you might be thinking, well, how can I add another $10,000 a month in recurring revenue? And if you're at zero revenue overall, you might be thinking, well, how the hell am I going to generate 120 grand's worth of business? And the number one question I get when I say we're going to fix this problem is, well, what am I going to deliver? And often what that really means is you don't know how to answer when the customer potentially asks, well, what exactly do I get? So a few years back, I had a pretty serious diagnosis of cancer, and I had a lot of kidney surgery and stuff that had to get done before I could do chemotherapy. And it was a whole rigmarole. I was in and out of surgery for about a year. And I remember feeling really, really nervous and scared the first time my surgeon said, we have to perform multiple operations on you. He also took me through the process of how the recovery would look like, where they were making incisions, possible nerve damage, the length of the recovery time, because they're going to have to go in through my abs and a few other places as well. I've got tons of scars all over my body. And I remember him telling me this, and throughout all of it, I wasn't more afraid. If anything, it was making me more confident in his ability. You see, the doctor didn't just come in, or multiple doctors didn't just come in and say, okay, we need to perform an orchidectomy on you. We need to do some surgery on your kidneys. You know, we're going to figure it out. That would have terrified me. And obviously no doctor has ever said that to you. What he laid out is he had a plan for me and he showed me the process. And that's exactly what I want to show to you. And the first kind of part of this is actually what my surgeon wrote down in front of me. And I was like, that's genius. I'm stealing that from my agency. He told me we have a plan and they knew what they were going to do. Your customers, ultimately, if you want to start charging good money, they want to know that you've got a plan and they want to know how you're going to help them. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you the biggest mistake that agency owners make when it comes to figuring out what to deliver. But first, we need to figure out the plan. The first time I showed this to one of my customers after I'd been using it for a while, they often found that their customers were asking, well, what do I get? Now, we could have a couple of different prices. If we're aiming for 10K per month, that could be 100 clients, $100 per month, or it could be 5 clients at $2,000 a month. Now, I would rather try and find 5 clients, but the price doesn't really matter, and we'll get to this in a minute. Sarah, who was a client of ours inside our tribe program, she really struggled with this. Every customer seemed to want something different, and she also had a habit of giving them something different each time. And she was kind of making that massive mistake, a bit like our bad doctor from before, but we'll get to that in a minute. She felt that she had to tailor the delivery to each client. And so I kind of took her through this process that my doctor gave to me and how it helped me massively during my surgery and all my treatments. Now, I've actually got a $10,000 checklist available for free in the link below that kind of supplements this video. So if you go to the link in the description, it might be in the comments, or if you head to this link, which is go.sellyourservice.co.uk/10K checklist, and you can get a really simple checklist of everything standing in your way, stopping you from adding another $10,000 to your monthly recurring revenue. So do you remember that one huge mistake I mentioned earlier, the one that Sarah was making and our bad doctor? Well, it's got everything to do with this seesaw. You see, we have 3 parts to our service. We have what the customer pays, what we actually deliver, and kind of what they get or the result. Now, I'm going to make life easy for us, and I'm going to choose a price along the lines of $2,000 a month, because that means that when we have 5 of these clients, it's easy to hit that 10K revenue. But now the question you're asking, of course, is, well, what the hell do I deliver in order to balance out this seesaw so that they feel like they're getting $2,000 worth of value? Whenever I've brought this up to people in the past, especially agency owners, they've often wondered, like, what should I include? And the first thing they often do is they're worried about adding more to their workload. I was particularly worried about adding more to her workload. I didn't want her to feel, well, she's already working 40 hours a week. I don't want to add a more complex product just for the profit or for the perceived increased revenue, only to further add to her workload. She also worried about what others were delivering for a similar price. And of course, she was worried that her customers and leads would say it's too expensive. And see, here's the mistake that a lot of funnel builders make, is they'll say, okay, well, in order to balance this out, I'm going to offer email, and this is something that Sarah did. She offered full funnel builds, she offered hosting, she offered like unlimited support. I mentioned like emails and calls. She would do their social media. She would also do all their copy and all their content. To her, $2,000, and I did it kind of like as an experiment to say, what would you deliver for $2,000? And of course, the idea is that she would be exhausted if she was doing this for one client, yet alone 5 clients. So what we need to do is make sure that whatever we're offering is hyper scalable and they get $2,000 worth of value without us feeling like we've done $2,000 to $3,000 worth of work. And so what I want to do is flip this. And so we're going to take all of these features here and we're going to move them. And I want you to ask yourself or ask your client, what would be worth $2,000 to them? It sounds very obvious, but what would be worth $2,000 to them, regardless if they were working with you or not? Or what would be worth, $497 a month or whatever it might be. These pieces here, these are features, and these are used as leverage. They are not the thing that they are getting. They are the fulcrum that allows the value to make sense. If you make too much leverage, it ends up looking like a seesaw, a bit like this, and it becomes very one-sided. So you don't want to over leverage, you don't want to add too much, but in order for them to feel like they're getting $2,000 worth of value, we have to balance this out with something else other than the features. Now remember, I've got that $10,000 checklist, so go ahead and download that. But in the meantime, if we take someone like Sarah, what she was doing is working with people in the physical product space. So things like the home furnishings, fitness products, they were usually mid-sized e-commerce businesses, and she had about 5 or 6 current clients. Most of them were doing social media work with her. And what they really wanted was returning customers. That was the thing that they were actually building their business on. And so the first thing we actually did is we offered an audit to those customers, which is a piece of leverage. And we worked out, or Sarah worked out, that their average client sale per sale was about $100. Whenever a customer came back, they spent about $100. So if we were able to get them 20 sales, that would be $2,000 a month. So now we've changed what it is that we're offering, because you don't need to do full funnel building, you don't need to do hosting, you don't need to do unlimited support or social media stuff. Chances are a few email campaigns and some copy are going to find those returning customers and balance out that $2,000. If you're able to say we can help you get 20 clients a month, it massively reduces what you need to deliver in terms of leverage. So what we basically have is the surgeon came in, and we're going to do a few different variations of this. We're going to do the bad doctor. We're going to do what Sarah was doing. We're going to do a good doctor, and then we're going to do what you're going to do. What was really important is the first thing they came to me with is they said they've got a plan. So when your customer says, okay, well, what exactly do I get for this $2,000 a month or $10,000 a month? If you have one client at 10 grand a month or $100 a month, it doesn't matter. And once you see this, you'll be able to apply this to software, coaching, consulting, projects. It really doesn't matter. It's so crazy powerful. They came to me with a plan. Now, the bad doctor says, we don't really have one. We're going to kind of make this up as we go along. And immediately you're like, that doesn't sound right. Sarah wasn't coming into this with a plan. She was basically doing it custom and bespoke each time. The doctor said, we've got a plan and I want to take you through it. So he said, we've got a process, it's called an orchidectomy or a kidney surgery or whatever it was called, I can't remember the technical name. And so what you're going to do is you're going to outline essentially this part, saying you've got a plan, this part, which I'll show you in a second, and this part. That's how clever this is all you're doing is you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. And so you're going to say, we've got a 3-part plan, and the first part of that might be some kind of audit. And they go, great, that sounds fantastic. And here's the part where it really gets into it, because most clients are like, okay, but what do I actually get? And you're going to say, well, it seems to me that you've got 3 core problems. If we look at the bad doctor, when they say we do it differently each time, they essentially don't know what the problem is. And by not telling me what the problem is, it kind of freaked me out. For Sarah, it was bespoke each time, and she had to tailor how she worked with each client. Every single problem was different. Whereas the good doctor, he said, what we're going to do is you're going to come into hospital, we're going to put you under, we're going to perform surgery on you, and then in 3 days' time, you're going to be able to leave the ward and you're going to be able to go home and recover. Even something like that showed me they know what they're working on. Now, if they talk individually about the problems, they could say, look, we're going to have to remove the cancer. We're also going to have to do some kidney surgery on you. Obviously, they didn't do it all at once, but they essentially took me through what the problems are. So for you, with your client, you want to highlight their top 3 problems that you've discovered, either through your research or having discovery calls with them or whatever it might be. And so you say, well, it seems to me that your top 3 problems at the moment are your lack of leads, in which case we're going to do a lead generation process and program for you through ads. It also seems like your sales are down, so we're going to run a couple of sales campaigns to your current clients. And finally, it seems like your refund rate is really high, so we have a refund reducer campaign that we're going to implement, and that's going to solve those top 3 problems. Does that sound pretty good to you? And they're going to go, oh my God, that's exactly what I need. And the final thing, what most people actually want, is knowing what the support is. Now, the bad doctor would say something like, we might give you a call in the next 48 hours or something like that. Sarah was over-delivering, way over-delivering. She would have emails and calls, and we'll talk about this in a second. The good doctor is going to say, we're going to set you up with a once per month call for the first few months, and you're also going to get access to a support nurse who's going to call you, and you're going to get her number to be able to text, and we're going to take you through that. So already I'm thinking they've got a plan, they know what the problems are and how they're going to fix them, and the support works like this. You're going to say something along the lines of, you are never more than 1 message away from help. We have email, and also we're going to do 1 call per week with you for the first 6 weeks, or whatever it might be, and I'll show you how to tailor this. Once you've got that, it's clear to them that this is an investment worthwhile because you've tailored it specific to their problems. Now, the thing is, now that you know how to create leverage with your skills and you know how to create a product that brings in $10,000 a month, you need a long-term marketing and sales plan for your agency to consistently hit 5 figures a month. That's why I've got this video here showing you how to hit 20,000, 30,000 a year and beyond with your marketing agency. This is a total 1-year revenue growth plan for your agency from start to finish. So go ahead and watch this one now.